All right, I'm excited to have with me here today owner of Cellar Music Group and a wonderful saxophone player and jazz musician in his own right, Cory Weeds. Welcome back. It's been a little while. I think towards the beginning of the year we spoke last, and
Yeah, it has been a little bit. It's always good to be back.
yeah. So since then, you've had a lot of different things going on. I've seen you've been all over the place. You're going to be playing. I think I was on Instagram. You got something coming up in Austin, Texas. I think you're playing there. Here coming
I do.
up next
Yeah,
week.
I have a big tour coming up starting next week. So Tuesday, November 5th, we're in Austin and San Antonio, and then we're in Tucson, Phoenix, Kansas City, for a couple nights, Bellingham, Washington, Seattle, Washington, Vancouver, BC, Canada, Whitehorse in the Yukon, and then we're into the studio for a couple days.
Oh wow! So more music, more recording more albums.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome.
So yeah, we get to do a nice sort of long tour with and then go into the studio, which is the most ideal situation you could have. So I'm excited about it.
Are you going to be going into the studio with the same people you're playing with on tour?
Yeah. So we do this big long tour, and then we come back to the Pacific Northwest and go into the studio when we're done. So it'll be great.
Oh, nice. We have to give us a little more information on that. Before we get into your musical endeavors, we got to catch up a little bit on the label because I think I've counted 40 releases so far this year for you at least. You're doing a lot of music, and it's young people, it's people making their first albums, and it's also the well-seasoned guys like Eric Alexander and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, you're in 25 years coming up next year.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we may have talked about this a little bit before. We have several methods in which we are able to release music. And we're in a very unique position that not a lot of people are in. We're heavily granted by the Canadian government through organizations like Factor Canada and Creative BC. And so that allows us to really do some pretty cool things. And then we operate sort of as I guess as an outlet, if you will, almost as a producer, like production distribution type deal. So artists and records that we really like, but we can't take them on financially because resources are what they are. We're still able to release those records because the artists are paying for them, but they're getting the benefit of the label's administration and logistics and services and what have you. It's sort of a label services kind of deal. So that's how we're able to put those releases out. I mean, I think probably a lot of people see the amount of stuff we're putting out and they think we're printing money up here. And it's very far from the case. But we do have some fortunate things that work in our favor. And so, my job as the label owner and the producer is to sort of leverage those things as best I can and help people get their music out. And I think we've become a bit of an outlet for artists. They like what we're doing. I think they recognize that I'm a musician, and we put a certain amount of love and care into these releases, and I think it's served us well. So we're able to just sort of keep going.
Yeah, I like the fact. So, we got guys like this making their first record, Brandon Suarez, right? And you've got the Tyler Henderson trio on this, and of course, you've had the other releases with Tyler Henderson playing on the Jacob Chung albums in his own. So I think that's kind of exciting to have these young guys coming in and doing these albums.
Yeah, well, if you think about, I mean, that the concept of that is twofold, or maybe even threefold. But if you think back to the early days, all the records that we love, in the 50s and 60s, Sonny Rollins and Hank Mobley and Dexter, and the list goes on and on of people. They started recording when they were young because these labels took chances on these young, very talented musicians. The other thing is we live in a world now that is so driven by social media, and at the risk of sounding, I don't mean to say any disrespect, but I mean, I'll even use myself. Like, I'm a 50-year-old, and I'm better at social media than most people my age, but I'm not great at it. and you have this younger generation who are able to access this platform that's available to them that's has become really, really important. And I think there's a bit of a divide between some of the older school musicians who refuse to embrace that technology and embrace that platform, and they're sort of being left a little bit in the dust. And it's unfortunate. I don't agree with it, but it's such an important part. So when I start working with young artists like Tyler Henderson and Jacob Chung and Kieran Brown, and these are people that are really accessing everything that's available to them, and so that's very attractive to me. So I was going to say that it's an experiment, and I don't mean to say that their music doesn't stand on its own. Of course it stands on its own. I wouldn't record it if it didn't. But I'm excited by the opportunity to work with young people who can access all of the promotional outlets that are available to them. And it's, it's arguable as to whether it's worked. Some of it has worked and some of it hasn't, but it's there. The young kids can access it. The young cats can access it. And they can leverage it, and that's what we hope to do. Because if we're going to continue to do this, we have to continue to use all those avenues, and social media is not going away. So,
Right.
yeah, so that's sort of the impetus behind working with some of the younger musicians for sure.
Yeah, Instagram. I'm finding more and more jazz releases to review from Instagram. I mean, things are. I'm starting to use it more. I'm just getting where I'm putting more things up on Instagram because
Sure.
people come across it there a lot more. So since we last talked, you put this out, which is I had Jacob on a couple times, and this is a fantastic live album. You got, of course, Tyler Henderson on this. This is fantastic. Of course, you had Jacob's album last year that came out with Tyler Henderson. Those guys are on that. And you had his album, and then, of course, this one that just came out, which I'll be reviewing here very soon.
Yep, that's a good one.
So, yeah, it's really exciting to have these young guys. And I like, like you were talking about, it's like going back to the old days when you had kind of like a stable of musicians and you have different people playing with this trio or kind of a mixed match of these different musicians.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. And then this one I just reviewed this. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's
This
an
is
interesting. Such an interesting record. Now that would be one that falls under. Somebody that came to me that I really liked, but I didn't have the resources to take the record on from a full label standpoint. So, we entered in a label services deal, and I'm thrilled to have that record on the label. It's a phenomenal record.
Yeah, unbelievable. And when I reviewed this, where she recorded this, and she had a pretty large ensemble to record here.
Sure did.
So it's like that couldn't have been very cheap to produce.
No.
To put something like this out. So
no, I mean, it's not a small, it's not a quartet record. Let's put it that way. It was very involved.
Yeah, and so I was really excited when I saw this. I was like, oh man, this is really cool, something different, and the compositions on here are fantastic. I mean, I've been listening to this nonstop since I've got it. So
thank you.
This is absolutely fantastic. But then you've got these other guys, like, of course, the guys that have been around a long time, like this, which I thought this was a fantastic release.
That's a good one. That's kind of a neat one, how that came up, because we, as from reading on the inside, it's a double CD. Yeah, you'll see that was recorded in 2004 at my club called the Cellar. And so very, very cool to see that band recording 21 years later and how they sound. Yeah, it was just kind of it was kind of a neat story.
Yeah, and it's nice that you can hear how they've developed over this whole time, even though the first recording is fantastic, and you listen to this now 20 years later, and it's wonderful. Any plans to possibly do a 2-volume or LP, vinyl, anything like that on that?
No LP on that one. Man, the LP business is so hard. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just you have to be really careful. You have to be very careful. Putting out vinyl is very costly. And quite frankly, it's really hard to make your money back. unless you have artist participation in terms of buying units, and that's not really Mike Ledon's thing. So if he were to sell a bunch from stage, that would be one thing. But now we're depending solely on website sales and distributor sales, and it just doesn't make financial sense.
Yeah, so that's still tough. I mean, the vinyl
Yeah.
is still pretty tough. I mean, you're doing
Yeah,
300,
it is tough.
300, 500 of them. You know, you got to sell at least half to get your money back.
At least half to get your money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. At least half.
yeah. Then we've got this album here, which was another fantastic record that I reviewed. I really enjoyed this one. And how did you come across Marcello?
Marcello is another one of those people like Rin who approached me with a really great project, a project that I really dug, and really wanted to work with, but just couldn't because it just resources were such that I didn't have money available to do it. So we basically reached a label services agreement for that particular record, and it came out, and I'm really glad it did because it's a wonderful record. It's an absolutely wonderful record. So I'm proud to have that on the label for sure.
So tell me a little bit about Cory, what it takes. I don't think a lot of people out there realize if you're going to take a project from beginning to end, you're going to send them to the recording studio. You're going to record it. You're going to do the whole thing. The cost that this, because a lot of people I think okay, it takes you can get a CD made for $1 a piece if you make 500 of them or something like that.
Yeah,
and you sell them for whatever, but people aren't looking at the cost that's behind it, everything.
Yeah, so if you take out the artist fees, because everybody handles artist fees a little bit differently. Like I don't know what you're going to pay artists because that's such a variable cost.
Sure.
If you take that out, I mean, you're basically looking at $6,000 to $7,000, or actually maybe $7,000 to $8,000 to bring this record to market. So it's not a small amount. It's not a small amount of money by a long shot.
And that's not including the time you have to put into it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's not including that. Yeah, of course, it's not including the time. So, it's about $6,000 to $8,000. So you can see it starts to add up pretty quickly. So you have to be really careful about what you're releasing and when you're releasing it and how you're releasing it.
Right. And then you got, this just came out, which and then again, I'm a huge Eric Alexander fan. I try to get everything, and that you've done 2 with him this year. This one came out towards the beginning of the year. This one just came out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. So talk to us a little bit about these. And of course, Eric has done other things. He's done the smoke sessions with Vincent Herring. He's a prolific, artist that records. I mean, who knows how many albums he's on? I don't think you can.
Yeah, I mean, he's on a lot. I mean, Eric. First of all, Eric started as a hero of mine when I was growing up, becoming a saxophone player, and then of course, over the years, presenting him here in Vancouver. He became a friend, and I had a chance. He was sort of at the end of a label agreement with his previous label, and I jumped on the opportunity to record him, and I've recorded him a lot over the last few years, both as a leader and as a side person. With Mike Ledon, they did Together, they did the Heavy Hitters, we did the Groover Quartet with the choir, so there's been a lot of Eric Alexander on the label, and I mean, yeah, he still remains to this day one of, if not my favorite saxophonist on the planet, so it's a real pleasure to get to work with him. I really like the new record, Like Sugar. I think the sound and the production quality on that record is one of the best records on the label without question. So getting a chance to work with him as much as I do is something I cherish very much.
Yeah, that's one of I really, of course, what I talk a lot on the channel about, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about the musician side of things, because we talk a lot. Every time we talk on this channel, we talk a lot about the label, which is awesome. But coming from a musician point of view, and when you listen to someone like Eric or Chris Potter, for example, some of these guys that just have such character and What are your thoughts on your approach to playing saxophone? Like what were
Yeah.
your original? I mean, because you're a fantastic player also,
Thank
and
you.
a lot of character, and that's something that I think is difficult because for every album I review on this channel, there's probably 20 I listen to that I'm like, it's good, but it's not great, right? And
Mhm.
so I think it's hard for a jazz musician to really, they can play good, they can play well, but it's another thing to play with the next level.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in there. Yeah, there's a lot in there. I, it's been something I've struggled with probably my whole career is that, okay, let's take somebody like Eric Alexander. Eric Alexander, for the better part of his whole life, his whole adult life, has been waking up and thinking about nothing other than the saxophone. That's what he does. Eric Alexander is a saxophone player. Grant Stewart is a saxophone player. That's when you say, "What do you do for a living?" I'm a saxophone player. And there's a certain amount of commitment and sacrifice you make to do that. I was never willing to make that type of sacrifice. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to just be a saxophone player. I wanted to be around the music, and I wanted my job to be jazz. That's what I wanted. So, in the early days, it was very clear to me that I wasn't going to practice 10 hours a day and move to New York and try to turn the world on its ear. That was never a goal of mine. My goal of mine was to become a good musician. And actually, when I bought my club in 2000, I had sort of what's the word? Resided to the fact that I was going to be a club owner who moonlighted as a saxophonist. And actually, what ended up happening was the complete opposite. And it makes total sense now. But, I was around so much great music. I was making connections. I was making friends. I was sitting in. I was coming up with ideas. My creative juices were fed, very seriously when I was owning a club and hearing all that music. So, of course, my career as a sort of a musician took off. But I still kind of felt like I was dealing behind the eight ball a little bit because I was not competing is the wrong word, but I was sort of trying to match myself up with people who live like breathe this music 24/7. And I still feel that way, but I'm older now. I've got a ton of experience, a ton of life experience, a ton of musical experience. And so now I just try to be authentic, and I don't want to. I would never criticize anybody or accuse them of not being authentic. However, I think some stuff that I hear is not as authentic as it could be, and I think in this day and age, people really pick up on that. So I don't think people listen to me and go, "Wow, this is the most virtuosic saxophonist I've ever heard. He's incredible." But I think that people hear when they hear me play, they hear authenticity. They hear truth. They hear joy. Maybe in some cases they hear pain, but they regard that all falls under the umbrella of authenticity. And I'm not sure that you can work on being authentic. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I can contribute. I know what I'm really good at. And I make records that serve those things. And at the end of the day, if you're telling me that my records make it to this pile instead of this pile, then I'm doing my job. And I'm very fortunate to get people that reach out to me all the time. I love this record. Oh, this and that, and I'm always super grateful. But I'm always a little bit surprised too because I'm very self-deprecating as a human being, but especially about my music. And so I really don't know where to place myself, but I don't worry about that. I let you place me, and I let the general public who come up and buy my CDs and records, I let them, that's their job to put me wherever. I continue to try to get better. I still try to practice every day. But yeah, if you ask me for one word, I would say authenticity is really what I'm striving for. And I think most days I achieve that.
Yeah. So since we last spoke, this was coming out. It hadn't come out yet. And we did talk a little bit about making it, so we don't have to go through all that again. But because on the last conversation, you talked about going in the studio with these guys and making the record. But since then, I've had a chance to listen to this many times. This is a fantastic sounding album, and of course,
Thank you.
This is one of those, I would call it a modern classic. This is.
Thank you.
So when you listen to something like this, and here I was having an interesting conversation with someone the other day, and talking about how records, whether it's jazz or any other genre, that everything has to sound too perfect nowadays. In other words, you've got all the ability to go in and edit things. Of course, you couldn't edit anything on this. I think there's something to be said for jazz music, that it's real people playing real instruments. But you do hear if albums, modern jazz albums, that are overproduced, and you can tell that they were edited, or that there was too much done to make it sound too perfect. So talk a little bit about that, because I think there's something to be said about, you get a record like this that they just did a reissue of this Sunny Side Up, right? Verb, you got Sonny Stitt on here. You can hear the reed. Sometimes it cracks. Sometimes there's a little imp in it, but it makes it sound what it is. So talk a little bit about that, the overproducing things that we're seeing now in music.
Yeah. Now, I wasn't around. Obviously, I wasn't around in those days. I'm venturing to guess that, given the times, that some of those musicians, some of our heroes, were less picky about how they sounded. They just wanted to get their money and get the hell out. I'm not suggesting that they didn't care. That's not what I mean. And I would love for somebody to hear this and tell me I was wrong. I think the perfection thing came later. And I don't know when, where, or how, or why it started. Perhaps it started because the technology changed and you could edit and you could try to make it sound perfect. For myself personally, I'm an imperfect player. And I'm sure that if you ask Chris Potter or Christian McBride, they would also say they're imperfect. But what I mean by that is I play with a lot of passion, and I play with a lot of, I go all in. And because of that, sometimes it's imperfect. And a really good friend of mine who's recorded on the label before, a great saxophone player named Steve Caldestad, when I was making a record, I was upset with something, and I really, really wanted desperately to fix it. And he said, well, if you fix that part, it's just going to be displaced to another part. So you're going to fix that, but you're going to go over here and it was very enlightening for me. And I, like when I listen to somebody, for example, like Clifford Brown, like he's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you ever heard a recorded song or solo by him in his studio records that was anything less than 100% precision perfection. You listen to Lee Morgan, and I want to be very clear about this. I am not criticizing Lee, and I'm not criticizing Clifford. Lee Morgan was a little less perfect. Equally as amazing. And in fact, I sort of prefer the listening experience of Lee Morgan a little more for that reason. You hear the cacks and the things that maybe a modern day trumpeter might go in and try to redo. So I think you have to be really careful. I mean, I think it matters like what kind of record you're trying to make. Like you take the Rin Seo record, for example, the desire to be more perfect on a record like that might be greater because there's more involved. There's definitely more involved. It's more involved. Whereas the Cory Weeds Quartet record, I mean, essentially we're just playing tunes. So, if you screw up a head, that's one thing. But if you play something you didn't like in your solo, is it really worth going back to fix? That's what you have to ask yourself. Like, is it really worth it? And generally for me, if I'm in the studio, first of all, when I'm in the studio, I always have somebody there telling me, like let's say, you're going to tell me whether I need to do it again or move on. But if there's something I really don't like, I'm like, no, I'm gonna fix that. The other thing is that, look, the honest truth about it is that Eric Alexander and Seamus Blake and Grant Stewart, and Chris Potter are not going to be buying my records. They're just not. And chances are they're probably not going to be listening to them either. If we're being really honest about it, it's the person that comes to the club that night that has a great time that really wants to buy my record. And they're not going to know the difference. So I'm not suggesting that means I shouldn't care. That's not what I'm getting at. But you see my point. You can get too micro about stuff, and I think it ruins the spirit.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the point. And there was also I had a conversation. I don't know if you ever talk with Andy Edwards. He's a guy out of the UK, and he makes all these critical. But I had a conversation with him, and his complaint about modern jazz. He doesn't think people take enough chances. He thinks people are always. His criticism is people are playing it safe, and it ends up sounding just okay rather than something that grabs you. Which I think he's got a valid, case there on some of these. So, but when you produce these, I mean, all these albums that I'm reviewing here are fantastic, and of course the caliber of players that the musicians you're putting on here, even these young guys that are very good and are still going to grow. They're still going to continue to get better and better.
Exactly.
Jacob Chung even talked about that live recording that wasn't supposed to be released, right? You recorded that when was that? You recorded that several years ago, right?
No, just last November.
Okay, last November.
Well, a year ago, basically a year ago.
Okay, but this wasn't really supposed to be an album.
No.
And so when you went back and listened to that, because I think Jacob was kind of surprised. Oh, wow, we went back and listened to that, and they never expected it to be released, and as a result, maybe they played with a little bit less worry.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know.
I mean, I remember that night thinking it sounded really good. I think the shocking thing for us was the actual audio quality of it. We really nailed. So then it became even better.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was a total fluke. We just plugged in a hard drive and basically did the recording visually. We couldn't even hear any of the playback. I'm like, let's just try it out. And we listened back. We're like, holy crap, this sounds amazing. So, yeah.
You just plugged up microphones into the board and recorded right off the board to a hard...
Exactly. And I gave it to my engineer, and he said, oh, yeah, I can work with this. I'm like, great.
Who was that? Sheldon? Was he on that?
Yeah, Sheldon.
Yeah. Which I talked with him, but you saw that I put up some clips from the interview I had with him. He was a fantastic, wonderful conversation with him. Very talented guy, yeah. And another one of those guys that's kind of, you just try to stay out of the way, and it came out the way, very humble guy. But all these albums that he's worked on, you have a lot of great engineers working on all these albums.
He's incredible. Anybody that ever, there's always this thing, I fight this all the time. Like when we do records here, sometimes guys are like, oh, well, my guy, he's from New York, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't care where he's from. Just once you work with Sheldon, it'll be cool. And everybody, Miki Yamanaka loves him. In fact, Mickey is recording for me again in New York and sending the files here to have Sheldon mix them. So Sheldon is, without question, as much responsible for the sound of the label as I am. I mean, he's phenomenal. We have an incredible working relationship, so it's awesome.
Yeah, he was a pleasure to talk to.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your early influences on saxophone, because I don't think I've ever heard you talk about that. Like, who are your favorite players? Who are the guys that you listen to over and over that really got you excited about the saxophone?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm gonna incriminate myself here, but so be it. So my dad is a guitar player, and so I was around a lot of music when I was young, and a lot of it was guitar. So I was very into Wes Montgomery in the early days, but I kind of went contemporary at first. I heard David Sanborn, I heard the Rippingtons, I heard Kenny G. I heard all of that stuff, and I really liked it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and excuse me, and tell you that I liked Kenny G. But what I will tell you is I like contemporary music, so stuff that was funky, and something that was funky and contemporary. I wasn't quite into bebop yet. So that was the draw. It wasn't Kenny G. I had no, though I don't remember listening to Kenny G solo going, oh my God, it's great. But it was the vibe, and there was some pretty melodies, and there was funky stuff, and and so I kind of, and then I really got into David Sanborn, and I wanted to impress my girlfriend, so I would be playing along to that. And then I switched schools in my graduating year. I went to a high school where I had two band teachers, one that was like Mr. Contemporary, and then one that was like Miles Davis, Paul Desmond, Cannonball Adderley. So I I started kind of getting into those guys. Like Cannonball was a big one first, Paul Desmond, but definitely Cannonball. Then I started gravitating to like Miles Davis because I could hear it. I could transcribe it, I could copy it, I could steal it. So I started getting into that stuff, and then I started getting into college, and I worked at a record store, and then my whole world just just exploded with, Bird and Sonny Stitt, and then some of the contemporary guys like Joshua Redman and Chris Potter, Eric Alexander, because Eric's older than me. So I really started to get into it. So then it was just me working backwards. I went to North Texas in 1995, so I would have been 20 years old, and they had a radio station there called KNTU, and I got a job DJing there, doing a jazz show every week.
Oh, so you got to hear a lot of stuff.
And I got to hear a lot of stuff, and then it just became like, oh my God, Larry Young Unity, oh my God, like Train this, and J Mac this, and so, but I would have to say that my earliest influences, if I had to give you five, over the course of my career, Wes Montgomery was huge. George Robert was massive. He passed away. He was a Swiss-born alto saxophonist who recorded with Tom Harrell and Clark Terry. Check him out if you haven't. He was incredible. He was a huge influence on me. Of course, Hank Mobley, who is and continues to be my biggest influence. Cannonball. And, I gotta say Bird, although, I don't sit here, I don't listen to a lot of Bird recordings necessarily, like in my spare time, but it's there. It's just, he's there and will always sort of, be there. So, I mean, those are sort of my top five, but Hank Mobley still is my guy. And I mean, and I guess I'm more than five. George Coleman has been a big influence on me too, so.
Yeah, living legend. Mm-hmm. And we just lost Jack G. Jeanette.
I know, yeah.
I'll tell you. Incredible drummer, of course. So many albums that, I was flipping through my records. I'm like, oh, he's on this one. He's on this one. He's on this one. That kind of thing. Sad to see him go, for sure.
Yeah, it's a loss. You lost.
I wanted to ask you about, there's a couple of other new ones that I want to get to because I haven't, these are on my list to review as well. I'm getting to these, and there's more that I haven't even gotten around to that I was looking on your website. This album here, the Smalls, is this another great album here. Tell us a little bit about
really good, really great record.
Yeah, and how many are there more of these Smalls to come out? You've done, I don't know, maybe I don't know how many.
There's one more. There's we have another Jesse Davis. There's another Jesse Davis one coming, and I think that's it. But Spike keeps telling me that this is it, and then he does another one.
He does another one. I mean, they record right there on site, right? So
they do,
and they sound fantastic. These live recordings, and this guy, I mean, he can. You listen to this is I can't wait to review this here soon because this is one of these CDs you listen to over and over and you hear something new every time. You're just like, oh, yep. Wow, what does he do? What's going on here? What's going on there?
And to be clear, most of them, not all of them, but I would say 90% of them, they're recorded at the clubs, but there's no audience.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so technically they're not live. They're recorded live off the floor, but they're not live.
And then this one here, which I'm going to also review here soon, which this is another really cool album. Tell us about this one, because this one just came out maybe, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
A few weeks ago. And, of course, you're playing on this one.
James is a good friend of mine. He's a very good friend, and he plays the clarinet like nobody I know. I just don't know how he makes the clarinet sound like that. And he's an incredible writer. He writes very slick, slick melodies, very hummable melodies, but very complex melodies. And I love it. We went to New York and we did that. It was me that suggested that band. I thought him and Mickey would really hit it off, and they did. In fact, they've recorded another record. We don't really know yet exactly what's going to happen with it. But yeah, just a really consummate musician, really beautiful guy, and I'm really happy for him. I'm really proud. We have another record you're going to get. Him and I lead something called the Vancouver Jazz Orchestra, which is a charitable organization here. Here in Vancouver, and we've made a record with the Jazz Orchestra featuring Brian Charette. And that's really good. So James is just a I don't know what to tell you. He's just a super talented guy. Like, just a very, very talented dude.
Yeah, so this is a pretty impressive lineup too. You got Steve Davis on the trombone. Of course, You're playing the tenor. Atlee King, who I was unfamiliar with, playing the vibraphone.
If you remind me, the next time I send you, or I can send it any time, I need to send you Atlee King's debut record that he did for me as a leader.
Okay. Yeah, because I was unfamiliar.
Really, really fantastic.
And then, of course, you have Mickey on the piano.
Yep.
Tyrone Allen, the second on the bass, and then Kush Abity on the drums.
Yeah, Kush Abity. Yeah, he's great. Great musician.
And this was recorded at Van Gelder.
It was.
Right? Can you tell us a little bit about the recording experience of this? Like, what was...
I mean, anytime I've been lucky enough to be in Van Gelder, I don't know, maybe 25 times now. It never gets old. James really wanted the experience. And so we did it. We had to get through a lot of music. But we had a gig in at Smalls the night before. And I mean, it just, it went great. I mean, it went, I don't have anything other to say than the whole thing was fantastic. It went really, really well. We were really happy with the way it turned out. The sounds are great. And, you don't often get to hear a clarinet record that sounds like that,
Yeah, and all these compositions were written by him.
Correct, yeah.
So how did that go? I mean, did you guys get all the music in advance before you went into the studio?
And we did a gig. It was funny. He'd kill me if I said this, but we did a gig here at Frankie's with a local band that went horribly. The music is hard. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. But we got to New York, and we had a couple rehearsals, and then we did the gig, and we tweaked some stuff and made some adjustments. And, it's just that thing where you get, excuse me, you get this music. You get this music, and you're like, holy crap, like, this is really difficult music. But once we dedicated the proper amount of time to it, and then sat down and played through it. It was great. It went really, really well. But his tunes sound easy. And I think that's the mark of a good composer. I don't listen to his tunes and go, oh my God, that sounds so hard. It doesn't sound hard. It sounds easy. But it's tricky because you think it sounds easy, and then you go to play it and you're like, all right, this is not easy.
Yeah, and then you've got quite a few musicians here. And so is there places, when he's someone like this, when James writes these tunes, is there sections that basically say, okay, this is going to be Cory's solo here, this is going to be, and it's kind of mapped out? It's like you can improvise, or
when you have a band that size, and you don't want to do tunes that are too long. I think you spend some time mapping some stuff out. I mean, I know, for example, there were a few tunes that I was really, really uncomfortable playing on. I'm like, look, man, I don't want a solo on that. I don't. And we were talking about, we were sort of alluding to that a little bit before, in that, about where I sit as a musician and what I've reached a point in my career now where I don't feel like I have anything to prove to anybody. So if I don't think something's going to sound good, I'll say I don't think this is going to sound good, and I'll get out. I just say, like, I don't want to do that. It's not going to sound good. I'm all for the music. And so there were a couple of tunes I'm like, look, man, great tune, but I don't need to solo on this. And in this case, it worked out good because when you have clarinet, tenor, trombone, piano, vibraphone, bass, you've essentially got 6 soloists, which you don't need on every tune. So
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, you got 20-minute tune, 30 minutes.
exactly,
Like a jam session.
Yeah, so it just the whole thing just went it went really well, man. I was really happy for him. And it just everything went really well. And I thought that it really just turned out really well. I'm really happy for James because it's a lot of work, and that's a lot of tunes, and it's a lot of stuff, man.
How do you in something like this? Are all the tunes that you guys record go on the CD, or there's some that are left out, or is it just depending on the album?
I mean, that's the idea, is that you would want, yeah, I mean, it depends. In that case, because we had so much music, like, we need 7 tunes at least to do the record. You have it there. How many tunes are on there?
Yeah, so you got 9 tunes, and they
Yeah,
all
so
average. The shortest one's 4 minutes, all the way up to almost 7 minutes. So they're
we could have dropped one, but I mean, I think you record as much as you. Sorry, I got an itchy foot. You record as much as you can, and then. Right. If you really don't like anything, then you keep something off. And as long as we have enough music to make the record, then we're all, then we're happy.
Right. Yeah. So I'll be reviewing these coming up for sure soon. I had Charles Chen on again, so I want to talk a little bit about Charles because this is an awesome album, and of course this is available on vinyl as well. A very talented guy that really knows his history. He
he's
really
a funny guy, very funny guy.
Yeah, so that album was a great follow up to this debut album. So what about that album? I mean, was that this one here was which one? This was who did this one? I can't remember now.
That was done in L.A. or either in L.A. or New York, but it was not done by us. That's another one of those ones that falls in the production services category. But I have a good working relationship with Charles, and he's put out some good records with me, and so we continue to work together because it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
Fantastic album there. Then you've got some new ones coming, actually the new one I haven't got yet. This David Snyder, introducing David Snyder. I've never heard of him. Tell us a little bit about him, because I think it just came out this past Friday, didn't it?
Just another one of these young cats that I came across, and yeah, I mean, just a young cat that I was really impressed with, and wanted to work with him, and he put together this great sextet, and we went into the studio. I got kind of a private grant to for the most of that recording, which is great. One of my longtime people that come on my New York tours every year really liked the band and liked the idea. So yeah.
And that's another Van Gelder recording in New York. Yes,
that is correct.
And you've got Jacob Chung on there, Tyler Henderson, Irina Tarakubo, who is on this fantastic album, which I think is wonderful. And
she's great. Yeah, the Empress recording
on vinyl. Yeah, this is fantastic. So that's pretty cool. Release there. I'm looking forward to. Yeah, the Jerry Weldon album that's also fairly new.
Yeah.
And that is that was a different project, right? That was recorded at the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center.
Correct. Yeah.
And so
correct.
That I have not got that one yet, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then when you've got the Vancouver Jazz Orchestra project that you were just talking about, which is coming up on December 5th. Tell us a little bit more about that one, because you've got Brian Charette playing on that, and then you've got this is a large ensemble.
Yeah,
Here.
it's a full on big band record. So that's just it's kind of a long story. I don't know how important it is for this particular podcast, but basically James and I started a charitable organization called the Vancouver Jazz Orchestra Society, and we took over an old society, an old charitable society, and essentially expanded the mandate to include more activities. Including recording. And so we got a grant to make this record, and it features all BC compositions and BC arrangers. And originally it was supposed to be Akiko Saruga, who was the guest artist. But of course, as probably many, if not all of your listeners know, she passed away after a short battle with stomach cancer. And I'd found out about that quite early. And so we pivoted to Brian Charette, who was a great choice for a number of different reasons. I mean, he's a dear friend of mine, but he also is a very versatile musician in terms of stylistic tendencies. So we did it in 2 days, and I was really, really excited with the way it turned out. I was very, very happy. And yeah, so that's hitting December. It's coming. We had kind of it's the official release date is actually in January, but it'll be available before then.
Okay, and that's going to be on CD. And that was recorded at the Vancouver warehouse.
Yeah, it was recorded at Brian Adams' studio called The Warehouse.
And it looks like Sheldon did that.
He did, correct.
Recorded, mixed, and mastered that one.
Yes, sir.
Nice. So that's going to be pretty cool. There's also this Rosanna album here that's supposed to be out in November by Noah.
Sorry. I thought that Rosanna was the artist name. Yes, Noah French Nolan, great pianist from here in Vancouver. Yeah.
Another musician who I'm unfamiliar with, so this always excites me when I get to learn about these new musicians, because I don't think I know any of the three that are on this album, this trio, was it Noah French Nolan?
Yeah, Noah French Nolan, Nick Bracewell, and Jody Prosnick.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was recorded at a church.
Correct.
And this is another Sheldon.
Yep.
So,
wait a minute. Is it Sheldon? Does it say that?
It says engineered and mixed by Sheldon Sarko. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
And mastered by Francois Houlet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's not. That might be. I think that's a Noah French Nolan contact.
So that's a new one that's supposed to be out. And then there's one more here that I wasn't. I saw here on the website, which is In the Streets by Neil Gray.
Yep.
And that's supposed to be coming out this Friday.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about that one.
He's a drummer from here in Vancouver, kind of an interesting composer. And he asked me to do the record, and I kind of dug it.
It's recorded at Monarch Studios. That's another Sheldon project.
Yeah, so that was recorded at Monarch, so that's a good one. So I mean everything the tunes are nice. It features a young trumpeter by the name of Julian Burkowski. I'm excited about that one too.
So now my big question for the 25th anniversary of Cellar Music, which is next year. I'm expecting. What are we going to have? Are you going to be doing any special projects? A special vinyl release for 25 years? Something that maybe something different? Have you thought of any ideas, or you know, leave it for a surprise?
I mean, we've been discussing some ideas. You know, the problem is we're so involved in the day-to-day of like just getting all this stuff out. You know, it's like, oh, here we are in October. You know, and we're so. My thoughts around it are, I want to keep doing what we're doing, and I don't want to put anything in jeopardy for the sake of celebrating something. You know, like we will do something. We will definitely be doing something. I just don't know what. The answer to your question is I don't know what we're going to do yet. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's a kind of a cool opportunity to maybe do something, release something, or special live album maybe with a big ensemble of friends. I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm
yeah,
just
we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see.
you've got a lot of different venues. Frankie's there. You're of course you're there. What every Wednesday?
Yeah, we're there every Wednesday. I'm coming to New York and um, coming to New York doing my tour. I'm coming to New York doing some recordings with a new band called Primary Influences with David Hazeltine and Steve Nelson. So yeah, there's some special things. We got a new logo that we got designed for the 25th anniversary. Um, I know that streaming isn't your cup of tea, and it's not really my cup of tea either, if I'm being honest about it. But we're releasing some heavily curated playlists on all the streaming services, like a Canadian jazz list and a Young Guns list, etc. And Lydia's going to be doing some press for us. So, I mean, we got some things planned, but there's nothing big at the moment. But we're talking about some stuff.
So tell us a little bit about your New York trip here. Are you full with that, booked up, or
No, we
what's
can
going on?
still take people. So if anybody out there, you don't have to be from Canada to come on that trip. You can join us. You can visit my website at coryweeds.com. We've got 13 people so far, so we're a guaranteed departure. So I'm excited about that. That's always a fun trip.
Yeah, tell everybody like what because it looked like you go to Van Gelder. Tell us just a little bit about like where you're able to take people and stuff because it looks like it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we just go. Yeah, we do. A lot of people say, "Well, why would I go to New York with you when I can just do it on my own?" And the difference about doing it with me is that we do a whole bunch of things that you can't do if you went on your own. So we have a bunch of private events, private recording sessions, private meet and greets. All of that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So it's a cool trip, and it's one that I look forward to every year. And this year's going to be no different.
Nice. Yeah, that looks like it'd be a lot of fun. So, well, man, I really enjoyed catching up with you. What about here's another idea for you. Of course, I can spend your money very, very easily here, but what about like a CD box set with all your favorite tracks from the last 25 years?
Yeah, I mean,
Something like that.
again, man, those are all great ideas. It's just how can I make it financially viable? That's really what it is. Like CDs are a tough enough sell already. We have thought about doing a limited run of some of our early releases to celebrate. Do a run of 100 vinyl. But I mean, can you get 100 people, or can you get 80 people to spend $50? I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
What
I
about
guess
going with packaging or something like this? If you're going to do something, how that they were able to do. Because I mean, I don't know how many of these he made, but like with these kind of Stoughton jackets, the real thick.
he made a lot, but one of the things you have to realize is that Kevin Gray is like the Robert De Niro of the vinyl mastering world. So, I mean, he can do it because he knows he's going to sell 3,000 copies. If I release a special deluxe version of even one of my records, let's say I do a new version of my Joey DiFrancesco record from, 15 years ago. Am I going to sell 200 of them? I don't know. And if I don't, the problem is that jeopardizes what I'm doing in the future. So I don't want to leverage the 25th anniversary and put myself behind the eight ball too much. So
Gotcha.
again, we're thinking about some stuff without question. We're thinking.
Right on. And then as far as the live playing goes, you talk. You're going to be. You got the big tour coming up. Then you're going in the
Yeah, and I'm
studio.
super thrilled because I finally got my website completely updated.
Okay, I'll put a link below for that.
Yeah, put the link below. It's awesome. I've updated it. I got lots of stuff coming up. So I'm very, very, very happy. So everything is good.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll catch up hopefully in the next few months, maybe after the new year, and I'll send you an email here to try to catch up on some of these other releases that I
Yeah,
haven't
do
caught
that,
up
and I'll
to.
get those. I'll get those out to you for sure. I always appreciate the support. Thank you, man.
I appreciate you sending them to me, and I these are wonderful albums, and I love reviewing them, and I love sharing them with other people.
Thank
That's
you,
what I
man.
love doing. So yeah, keep up the good work, and man, we'll look forward to a lot more releases from you,
Thanks, Matthew.
and also your own playing, because again, these albums you're playing on are wonderful. So
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
all right, we'll see you. Thanks. We'll see you
Ciao.
soon. Bye.